She called herself the property line queen, until a real land surveyor destroyed her entire argument with one tiny metal pin. For years, this neighbor acted like she owned half the neighborhood. She moved boundary rocks, painted fake property lines, and even told people where they could park. But one family finally got tired of the drama and hired a licensed land surveyor. The queen stood outside, smiling confidently, until the surveyor uncovered the original property marker hidden under the grass. Her fence, her flower beds, and even her decorative lights were sitting 3 feet onto her neighbor's property. A few weeks later, everything was removed, piece by piece. Funny how confidence disappears when facts finally show up. If you love legal property justice, subscribe. New story every week.
I bought my house with a gate already standing there. It had been there for 10 years, nobody questioned it. Then one day, a letter arrived from the HOA. It said my gate didn't match their aesthetic rules and had to be removed. Their handbook stated older structures were protected by a grandfather rule. Anything built before the rule change was allowed to stay. I sent them documents and photos proving the gate was old. I thought that would settle everything. A week later, on a work trip, my neighbor called. He sounded confused, asking why a bulldozer was in my driveway. The HOA had hired a contractor and torn down my gate while I was gone. No notice, no permission, no conversation. Instead of arguing, I read their rule book again carefully. Buried inside was a rule about property inspections. It stated HOA inspectors could only enter a property through an approved access point. My old gate was exactly that. I rebuilt the fence around my yard. No gate this time. A solid privacy fence with a small door, opening only from inside. From the outside, there is no approved entry point anymore. Now when HOA inspectors show up, they just stand outside the fence knocking. They can see the house, but can't legally step onto the property. Their own rule book prevents it. All because they decided to destroy one gate. They fenced off the only road out of my property. So I turned their quiet little street into a public highway. And the best part? They caused it themselves. It started on a Monday morning. I was halfway through my coffee when I heard a sharp metallic clang outside. Not distant construction. This sound was right at the end of my driveway. When I stepped onto the porch, I saw them. A crew in neon vests unloading steel posts and wooden barricades. They were sealing off the dirt road I'd used for years. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. That road wasn't fancy. It wasn't even paved. But it was the only way my property connected to the main highway. I walked down my gravel driveway and asked what they were doing. One worker barely looked up and shrugged. HOA orders. That was the first time those 3 letters ruined my day. What they were doing. My property sat beside a perfectly manicured suburban neighborhood. HOA orders. Perfect lawns. That was identical the first houses. Time those 3 letters ruined my day. What they were doing. My one worker barely perfectly manicured suburban neighborhood. HOA perfect lawns. That identical houses. Those 3 letters ruined my day. What they were doing. My one worker barely perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect lawns. That identical houses. Those 3 letters ruined my day. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect lawn. That identical time those 3 letters to record the numbers I've been using. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect lawn. That identical time those 3 letters to record the numbers I've been using. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect lawn. That identical time those 3 letters to record the numbers I've been using. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect reading. That identical time those 3 letters to record the numbers I've been using. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect reading. That identical time those 3 letters to record the numbers I've been using. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect reading. That identical time those 3 letters to record the numbers I've been using. My new one worker very perfectly manicured suburban HOA perfect reading. That identical time those 3 letters One detail. Narrow street. One detail. Right. Narrow street. Next morning, I take the map. 2 weeks later, one detail. Right. Narrow street. Next morning, I take the map. 2 weeks later, one detail. Right. Narrow street. Chopping of vegetables, vigorous chopping, so I decided to comply. The next day, I started my new silent life. To get to the kitchen, I commando
Chopping of
crawled across the
vegetables.
floor, vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I used two spatulas to gently. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, I commando
chopping of
vegetables,
vegetables.
vigorous.
Chopping.
To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next
with
day,
water
I
and
started
drank
my new
millimeter
silent
by
by
millimeter.
millimeter. To get to the kitchen, I
And
commando
chopping of
vegetables,
vegetables.
vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next
my
day,
morning
I
my
started
job.
my new
Millimeter
silent
by
by
millimeter.
millimeter. To get to the kitchen, I found
really chopping of
vegetables, vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping of
comments.
vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping of
comments.
vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping of
comments.
vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping of
comments.
vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping of
comments.
vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping
comments.
of vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping
comments.
of vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day, I started my new silent by millimeter. To get to the kitchen, let me know in the
chopping of
comments.
vegetables.
Vigorous. To open the silverware drawer, I put a whole bell pepper in a blender. The next day,